Alright, let's zoom into the upper leg. I'm going to select the points right here in the center. Pull these down a little bit. I want to make room to line things up so I can do a few more edge loop splits. Select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges there. And edge loop split all the way down the legs. I just wanted to basically create more geometry here so I can get the basic shape of the leg before I start extruding out major muscle masses. Pull these points up and in and up right here and forward. Let's go into the front and side views real quickly. I wanted to compare the geometry with the image planes in the background. I also noticed that I want to add about 2 more edge loops through the knee area. So I'm going to zoom in here, space out the edges I already have there, a little bit down, a little bit up, so I can, right in the center part, I can add 2 more edge loops. The reason for this is I want to be able to manipulate the geometry if I ever want to animate this later on. So the extra edges right there will allow me to do that. Now I'm just going to grab the overall mass and move it up to line it up to the image planes a little better. And this row of polygons right at the top, move that up a little. Let's go back into the perspective view. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line up the geometry for extruding rectus femoris muscle down the center of the quadriceps and the knee area. So I'm going to snap back to the side view, line up where the knee area is and select those points. I'm going to go into the perspective view. I'm going to widen those out and the ones right underneath also. So that defines the basic area of the knee. Next I'm going to grab the face right above the knee. That's the quadricep muscle tendon. Scale that together. Now I'm going to move around the points right around either side of that so I can leave geometry areas for where I'm going to extrude out the vastus medialis and vastus lateralis. I'm just going to shape the area on the lower leg a little bit before I move on. We're going to get to the lower leg a little later. I just want the basic form there before I go up to the upper leg. Next we're going to move this down, do 1 more edge loop through the center here. That's going to be necessary for our extruding. Okay. Let me select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 faces here. And now I'm going to extrude those out and scale them in a little bit. Right here on the quadricep tendon. The knee area I'm going to push out to the sides a little bit, defining the knee a little prominently. I'm going to pull up the edge there and spin these 2 faces inwards. That way it follows the line of the tibia on the lower leg. Okay. Let's go up to the rectus femoris muscle, and I'm going to grab these faces, all 3 of them, and scale them together to round out the form. Now I'm just going to shape the geometry a little bit. Grab this edge, pull it down, pull it in. Alright. Push it back a little bit. Okay, we have that muscle now. Now next, we'll want to do the vastus medialis, but first we have to line up the geometry alongside that. Spin these 2 faces. Okay, I think we want to keep that. Move around the points. Let's see if we want to spin these 2. Whoops. No, that's not going to work. Spin that back. Select these 2. No, let's do the one right above this. Hold on. Those 2. Okay. That gives us a little bit of the geometry we want right there for lining up the sartorius muscle and the vastus medialis. I'm going to move around these points. Next I'm going to select the faces of 1, 2, 3, 4 of vastus medialis. Extrude that out. Scale it in. Now I'm going to shape the geometry a little better. Pull out the back parts, round out the form. Alright. So that gives us our basic muscle there. Now next, I'm going to extrude out 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoops. 4. And that's going to be vastus lateralis. Extrude that out, scale it together. Just manipulate the geometry a little bit, pulling out the edges or the points, whichever works best for you, maybe a combination of both. Round out that geometry. Okay. Now I want to spin in both of these muscles that I've made back into the overall mass of the leg. Let me see if I can spin those two. Actually, that might be a bit too high. Spin. No, that's too high. Let's go down to the bottom one we've selected and the one underneath it. Spin those two inward and delete the extra edges they share. Alright, that's what we want. Space that out a little bit. Let's do the same thing on the opposite side for vastus medialis. Let's see, maybe we want to do this one a little higher. Select these two faces. Actually, that's probably too high also. So let's select the same ones we did on the opposite side. Delete the edges they share. Okay. You have both masses now, vastus medialis and vastus lateralis. Now, next we have to do the sartorius muscle. That starts at the ilium, goes down around the bottom side of the vastus medialis and down to the lower leg. Alright, we're going to need to spin some more faces here. Let's see about these two. Spinning faces is a little bit of a guessing game even for me sometimes, so don't be worried if it's confusing to you. How about these two? Whoops, hold on. How about these two? That's a weird one to spin, but it might actually work. Push that back. Aha! So we slowly have sartorius's outline slowly coming in there. I'm going to also spin the ones right underneath that one to keep the flow going of the muscle all the way down. There, see? Now we have one continuous flow of that muscle group all the way down to the lower leg, to the top of the lower leg. Let's go up now. Actually, let's go to the bottom here, start extruding these faces. Starting right at the knee, 1. Just can't select that one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait a second. I think we've got to establish the top part of the sartorius muscle where that's going to be before we start extruding this geometry. That spin face isn't going to work. Maybe these two. I think that's going to work. Let's pull up this edge. It looks a little weird. The geometry looks stretched, but I think it'll work for us. So now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Extrude that out, all 9 of those. Pull it out a little forward. Now select the edges and round out the form. Alright, so now we have sartorius muscle coming down and around the vastus medialis. Next muscle we're going to create is going to be tensor fascia lata, which goes alongside and on top of vastus lateralis. Okay. Just tweaking some points real quick before I get to that. Alright. Spin the face down at the bottom here. Spin it twice to make it go forwards. And move around the points so it more naturally flows back into the leg. Sartorius muscle, that is. Let's go back up to the top now. Now we're going to extrude out tensor fascia lata. After I move around some of these points real quick. Push up the overall mass a little higher. Okay. It's looking good. Now let's push this point back, grab 1, 2, 3 faces there, and extrude that outward, scale it in a little bit by grabbing the points and just pushing them in, rounding out the form. So now you have the tensor fascia lata muscle. We're going to have to spin the bottom faces to blend it back into the mesh. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's grab these two faces and spin. Alright, grab the edge, pull it down,